The chill of Fenris is not just a bite of wind and ice, it is the voice of the world itself, a death song whispered through frozen fjords and boiling seas, carried on storms that can flay flesh from bone. To survive here is to be tempered, hammered by hunger and shaped by blood. Yet for those chosen, this savage crucible becomes more than mere existence. It becomes the forge of gods and monsters, warriors whose names echo through the stars as both saviors and beasts. They are the sons of Rus, the wolves who stalk the endless night of the galaxy. But behind the saga, behind the songs sung in firelit halls, lies the raw marrow of their truth, the savage life of the space wolves, where survival, duty, and damnation are never far apart. The air of Fenris cuts deeper than any blade. It is not merely cold, it is a force, a predator in its own right, stalking the flesh of men with fangs of ice. The seas boil where volcanoes bleed into the water, and jagged glaciers loom like the bones of dead gods. This world was never meant to harbor life, yet life here is stubborn, brutal, and savage. The tribes that endure its wrath are forged in the same violence that shapes the land. To be born on Fenris is to be born into war with the planet itself. A boy's first memory is often the scream of the wind and the taste of hunger. The tribes are nomads by necessity, following the migrations of monstrous prey, never staying long in one place lest the land itself rise against them. Fires sputter beneath hides stretched across frames of bone and timber, offering meager warmth against the storms. Around these flames, elders tell sagas of Rus, of heroes who drank the blood of krakens and slew giants of stone. Yet even in these tales the lesson is never softened. Fenris does not forgive weakness. Those who falter are left behind, their bodies frozen stiff and claimed by the wolves that haunt the night. The wolves of Fenris are no mere beasts. Their eyes gleam with an ancient cunning, their howls carry across fjords like the toll of warns. To face them is to face something greater than hunger or storm. Some tribes speak of them as spirits of the dead, guardians or avengers watching the living with merciless patience. When they come in silence first, shadows streaking across the snow, then with a rush of fur and fangs that can tear through flesh, armor, and bone alike. For a boy of Fenris, the measure of manhood begins with such encounters. Those who return from the hunt wear the scars like runes upon their skin. Those who do not are already forgotten by dawn. Among these boys are those the wolves of the Fang Watch. Silent figures, giants clad in armor that gleams faintly beneath the stormlight, sometimes appear at the edges of the world. They do not announce themselves. They do not intervene when a child screams in the jaws of a beast. They watch. The tribe whispers that to be chosen by these watchers is to be claimed by fate itself. Some say they are spirits of Rus, others call them the angels of death. None truly understand, save that their gaze is terrible and absolute. For the aspirant, the first trial is survival, not just to live but to prove a ferocity that marks him as more wolf than man. The watchers choose only from the fiercest, those who fight long after their flesh has broken, those who meet death with teeth bared instead of tears. When chosen, the boy does not celebrate. He is torn from his tribe, his name carried away like smoke, and he walks into a path from which there is no return. But before that path opens, the world itself must test him. Imagine the blizzard swallowing the camp in white silence, the sound of timbers groaning under ice, the muffled cries of mothers who know their children will not survive the night. Imagine the hunts across frozen wastes, spears clutched in shaking hands as shadows circle closer with every heartbeat. Imagine the gnawing emptiness that drives boys to claw raw meat from a half-dead beast, because to hesitate is to die. This is the marrow of Fenris, the endless grinding wheel upon which life is sharpened. It is in such moments that the first howl comes. A boy stands upon a ridge, the aurora burning green fire above him, his breath freezing in the air. Around him the wolves gather, their eyes cold suns in the dark. He knows he cannot kill them all. He knows he will not live another hour. But he raises his voice and howls back, a sound born of rage, of defiance, of the wild spirit that refuses to be broken. Sometimes the wolves retreat, unsettled by the audacity. Sometimes they tear him apart, and sometimes unseen in the storm, the watchers nod once, and the boy's fate is sealed. For the chosen, this is only the beginning. The howl of Fenris has marked them, and the path to the Fang yawns open like the jaws of a great beast. To walk it is to leave behind family, tribe, and even humanity itself. Yet in that moment, standing upon the ice, With blood freezing on their lips and the sound of wolves fading into the night, they take their first step toward becoming something more than mortal. They take their first step toward the savage life of a space wolf. The journey from the tribe to the place of testing is itself another crucible. Those chosen are not carried in triumph or given blessings of ease. They are dragged from their homes, sometimes bound, sometimes left to stagger barefoot through ice fields behind armored giants whose faces remain hidden beneath helm and visor. For many boys, this walk is the last they will ever make. The cold claims them, or hunger reduces their pace until the frost hardens their lungs. Those who collapse are not lifted. They are left where they fall, their last sight the looming shapes of their captors walking without pause into the distance. The Fang is not where they go first. The fortress monastery, so vast it seems to scrape the aurora from the heavens, is a reward for survivors, not aspirants. The chosen are instead herded toward caverns hidden in cliffs of black stone, places where the air burns with volcanic breath and the walls are slick with frost. Here the first trials begin. They are not fed, they are not comforted, they are left in darkness, the sound of dripping water and distant growls the only measure of passing time. In that dark many break before any trial has even begun. They cry for their mothers, for their tribes, for the safety of fires long extinguished. Some beat their fists bloody against the stone, begging to be released. The watchers listen but do not intervene. The first culling is done by despair itself, and the cavern grows quiet as days pass, silence claiming those who cannot bear the weight of emptiness. Then come the beasts. Great shapes emerge from tunnels, eyes glowing like embers, teeth gleaming with saliva that steams in the cold air. Wolves, larger than any the boys faced in the wild, beasts bred for savagery and sharpened by hunger. The aspirants are armed with nothing but their hands, their teeth, their rage. To fight is to live, to hesitate is to die. The cavern becomes a storm of blood and snarling boys clawing at fur, wolves tearing through limbs, the air alive with screams. Those who fall are consumed. Those who endure are marked forever by scars that will never heal. Yet even here death is not the true measure. What the watchers seek is spirit. They look for the boy who fights even when bone splinters, the boy who tears at a wolf's throat with his own teeth, because no weapon remains. They look for the spark of something unyielding, something closer to beast than man, yet disciplined by instinct, guided by a primal cunning that sets him apart. It is not the strongest who always survive, nor the swiftest. It is the one who refuses to surrender, whose howl carries longer than the silence of his fear. Those who emerge bloodied and staggering are not greeted with kindness. They are driven onward, their wounds ignored, their cries unheeded. Outside the blizzard waits, lashing them with ice shards that cut like knives. The watchers march them higher into the mountains, where the air thins and the world falls away beneath cliffs that plummet into storm-racked seas. Some aspirants leap, driven mad by exhaustion and pain, their bodies dashed upon rocks far below. Others march in silence, each step carrying them further from the boy they once were. At the summit, the world spreads out beneath them, an endless expanse of fire and ice, ocean and glacier, storm and shadow. The aurora dances above like a curtain of spectral flame, and in that light, the Fang is visible at last. It rises from the earth like the fang of some primordial beast, its sheer cliffs glistening with frost, its spires clawing at the sky. To the aspirants, it is a vision both terrifying and divine. Some fall to their knees in awe, others collapse entirely, their bodies no longer able to carry them forward. The watchers do not linger, they turn and descend into the fortress with those who remain, their massive boots echoing against stone steps worn smooth by centuries. For the survivors, it is the first time they set foot upon the path that leads into the heart of the wolves' dominion. Behind them lies the world of men, of tribes, of fires and sagas sung by mortal lips. Before them lies transformation, suffering, and a destiny sealed in blood. As the gates of the Fang close behind them with a thunder like the ending of an age, the boys know they have crossed a threshold. Whatever waits within is beyond imagining, and though they tremble with exhaustion, a single thought binds them all. If they falter now, their names will vanish into snow and storm, but if they endure, their howls will one day shake the stars. The silence is heavier than the storm outside. The fortress is not merely stone and iron, it is a living myth, a monument carved into the bones of Fenris itself. The walls rise higher than the eye can follow, runes etched deep into their faces, glowing faintly with an inner fire that seems older than time. Torches burn with pale flame in vast corridors, their light swallowed quickly by shadows that whisper like voices just out of hearing. For the boys, it is as though they have stepped into the underworld, a place where the gods themselves walk unseen. They are driven deeper, past halls that echo with the chants of unseen warriors, past chambers where the smell of blood and oil mingle in the air. Here, nothing is explained. The watchers do not speak, do not comfort. They simply guide, their steps heavy, their presence towering, until at last the boys are gathered in a chamber vast enough to hold their entire tribes. The ceiling disappears into darkness. The floor is stone polished by centuries of use, stained with what can only be blood. It is here that they meet their first master. He is no armored giant but a scarred warrior draped in furs, his eyes pale blue, his hair braided with bones. His voice rolls like thunder through the chamber, speaking of Russ, of honor, of the path before them. Yet there is no poetry in his words, no gentle inspiration. He speaks of death, of pain, of the fate that awaits most of them. He tells them plainly that they are nothing, that they are animals until proven otherwise, that the fang will devour them as it has devoured countless before. The boys listen, some defiant, some trembling. One shouts back, cursing the warrior, proclaiming his own strength. The hall answers with laughter, not from the master, but from shadows above where figures watch unseen. The defiant boy is seized, dragged forward and cast down. The master does not strike him. Instead, he throws him a blade. The boy lunges, snarling, only to find the steel caught effortlessly in a single hand. A twist, a snap, and the boy lies broken on the floor, his life ended in silence. The master speaks again, reminding them all that strength without discipline is nothing but a quicker path to death. The lesson is clear. Survival on Fenris forged their bodies, but here, in the shadow of the fang, their spirits will be tested. Day and night blur together in relentless trials. They are denied food until hunger claws at their bellies, then thrown scraps and told to fight each other for them. They are woken in the midst of sleep and forced to run until their legs collapse, only to be beaten back to their feet and ordered onward. They are locked in dark cells, alone with their thoughts, left to wonder if they have already been forgotten. Yet in this suffering, bonds begin to form. The boys who once fought each other for meat now find themselves leaning on one another, sharing warmth in the cold, pulling their brothers to their feet when they stumble. A strange transformation begins, not yet of flesh and blood but of spirit. They are no longer boys of scattered tribes, they are becoming a pack. And still the watchers look on. Silent, unyielding, they study each aspirant as though weighing the marrow of his soul. The boys whisper rumors about them, giving them names in hushed voices: the silent wolves, the eyes of Russ, the deathborn. None know their true identities, but the fear they inspire is real, a constant reminder that failure is not just death but dishonor. To falter here is to be less than forgotten, a story never told, a saga never sung. On the 30th day, or what the boys believe to be such, for time bends strangely within the fang, they are led out of the training halls and into a chamber colder than the wastes of Fenris itself. Frost coats the walls and the air burns their lungs. In the center rests a great slab of stone, runes etched deep into its surface, glowing faintly with power. They are told this is where their true trial will begin, where the blood of Russ himself will mingle with theirs. None understand the meaning yet, but the weight of it hangs heavy upon them. As they stand in silence, the aurora filters faintly through slits high above, painting their faces in shifting light. They feel the gaze of centuries upon them, the sagas of untold warriors whose steps they now follow. Fear churns with anticipation. Somewhere deep within, a primal instinct whispers that they have crossed into the realm where boyhood ends and something far more dangerous begins. The chamber hums with a low, almost inaudible vibration, as though the stone itself remembers every scream and every oath that has ever been uttered upon its surface. The boys are ordered forward one by one, their bare feet scraping against the frost-slick floor as they approach the rune-etched slab. There is no ritual of comfort, no words of reassurance, only the harsh command to lie down and surrender themselves to fate. When the first aspirant obeys, iron clamps close around his wrists and ankles, binding him fast. A blade is drawn, its edge catching the pale light of the aurora above, and his chest is cut open with clinical precision. His scream echoes like a wolf's howl strangled in a snare. The boys watch, horror-stricken, as a vial is produced, thick with a crimson fluid that seems to glow faintly as it catches the light. The master declares it the blood of Russ, though whether this is truth or litany none can say. What they know is that the moment the fluid touches the boy's lips, his body convulses violently, his back arching against the stone until it seems his spine will break. Some die almost instantly, their hearts unable to withstand the transformation. Others writhe for hours, foam at the mouth, their eyes rolling back as though their very souls are at war within them. A rare few endure, though they do not emerge unscathed. Their screams change, deepening into something less human, something primal, until the sound ceases altogether, and only ragged breathing remains. These are unshackled and dragged away, half-conscious, their eyes glowing faintly with a new alien fire. The boys waiting their turn feel terror settle in their bones. Some try to run, only to be cut down before they reach the door. Others kneel, whispering prayers to Russ, to Fenris, to ancestors who never heard them before and will not answer now. None are spared. One by one they are bound, cut and remade or destroyed. Blood paints the runes, steaming as it touches the cold stone, the chamber thick with the copper stench of death and rebirth. When at last it is over, fewer than half remain. They lie scattered across the floor like corpses, but their chests rise and fall however weakly. The master speaks again, his voice rough and unyielding, telling them that they have taken the first step. They are no longer boys. They are not yet wolves, but they have shed the skin of their old lives. Their tribes will not remember them, but the Fang will never forget them. From this moment forward, their existence is tied to a destiny that stretches far beyond the storms of Fenris. In the days that follow, the survivors feel the change within themselves. Their senses sharpen to unnatural heights. They can smell the oil on the steel of weapons, hear the faintest scrape of claws in distant corridors, see the movement of shadows in near total darkness. Hunger gnaws at them constantly, but it is not the weakness it once was. It is a fire in their blood, driving them to move, to hunt, to fight. Their bodies grow stronger, their muscles knitting with new power, their wounds healing faster than before. Yet along with this strength comes a gnawing fear. At times their thoughts blur, overtaken by urges they cannot explain, impulses that whisper of tearing flesh with teeth, of running on all fours beneath the aurora. The masters tell them this is the wolf within, the mark of Russ's gift and curse alike. It is something to be mastered, not surrendered to. Those who fail will lose themselves, becoming nothing more than beasts to be hunted down and slain. Those who succeed will walk the path of the Sky Warriors, warriors whose sagas echo across the galaxy. At night, in the cold barracks of the Fang, the aspirants hear the distant howling of war. Sometimes it comes from beyond the walls, carried on the frozen wind. Sometimes it comes from within, from their own throats, low and ragged, before they even realize the sound is theirs. Each howl is both a warning and a promise that they are no longer human, and that their journey has only begun. Thus ends the first chapter of their transformation. The howl of Fenris has marked them, body and soul. They have survived the storm, endured the cavern, faced the beast and tasted the blood. They are no longer sons of tribes but children of the Fang. Yet the trials ahead are darker still, and the wolf within hungers louder with each passing day. The first taste of transformation is only a whisper compared to what comes next. The aspirants, gaunt and hollow-eyed, are led from the frost-bitten chambers of blood into the deeper halls of the Fang. Here the air grows warmer, thick with the smell of oil, steel and burning incense. The walls are etched with runes that glow faintly like embers, casting long shadows across the faces of statues that tower overhead, heroes of ages past, their stone eyes forever fixed upon the living. It is here that the true crucible begins, where flesh is not merely tested but remade. They are taken into the chamber of fire, a place where the forged smoke of the artificers hangs heavy, and the roar of ancient machines never ceases. Massive engines hum in the dark, their surfaces alive with heat, while robed figures move with ritual precision. These are not the masters who barked commands and broke bones with fists. These are the flesh crafters, the gene priests, whose task is to carve away the man and awaken the wolf. Their faces are hidden behind brass masks, their voices distorted by vox grills, each word more mechanical than human. To the aspirants they seem less like men and more like revenants, servants of some inscrutable fate. Without ceremony, the boys are strapped to iron slabs, their arms and legs bound in chains that rattle like the echoes of execution. Pain is no longer a threat but a certainty. The gene priests begin their work, opening veins, implanting organs, pouring into their bodies the sacred gene seed of Russ. The aspirants scream until their throats are raw, but their voices are drowned by the hiss of machinery and the rhythmic chanting of the priests. Some never finish their screams, their bodies reject the gift, convulsing violently before falling still. Their slabs are tilted, their corpses discarded into roaring furnaces that consume them without pause. For those who endure, the torment is unrelenting. Their muscles swell, their bones lengthen, their senses sharpen to almost unbearable intensity. Every heartbeat feels like thunder, every flicker of light like a blade against their eyes, every scent a flood that drowns their thoughts. Some lose themselves entirely, thrashing and snapping at the air, as if they were wolves chained too tightly, their howls filling the chamber. The priests watch carefully, for this is the moment of judgment. If the beast consumes the man, there is no salvation. Such aspirants are executed swiftly, their deaths marked by a single rune carved into the floor. But those who endure, who cling to the shreds of their humanity, even as the wolf claws at their mind, emerge from the chamber changed. They are no longer gaunt, starving boys but towering figures with the first marks of the sky warriors in their frame. Their eyes burn with a strange light, half human, half something far older. They stagger when unshackled, yet each step carries weight, as though the ground itself acknowledges what they are becoming. The trials do not pause for recovery. Even as their bodies ache with transformation, the aspirants are cast into the arena. Here they face one another, bare-handed, the command given simply to fight until only one remains standing. The floor is slick with blood within moments, fists and teeth breaking bone, claws tearing flesh. Each strike carries not just desperation, but an unnatural strength, the wolf within lending its fury to every blow. The masters watch from the shadows, judging not only victory but control. To kill too easily, to revel in the slaughter, is to court damnation. To falter, to hesitate, is to invite death. Balance is demanded, a warrior's ferocity tempered by discipline. The arena becomes a forge of its own, and from it, the pack begins to emerge. Bruised and bloodied, some aspirants drag their defeated brothers from the floor, refusing to leave them behind. Others show mercy in their strikes, pulling back at the last instant, though their own blood still flows freely. These moments are noted, marked upon the hidden ledgers of the masters, for in the savage life of the wolves, strength is nothing without loyalty, and the wolf that cannot run with its pack is doomed to die alone. As the trials stretch on, days blend into nights, nights into days, until time itself loses meaning. The aspirants sleep in shifts, their dreams haunted by visions of fangs and fire, their waking hours filled with pain, battle, and the constant growl of the beast inside them. Yet through it all, something undeniable grows stronger. A bond, a brotherhood, born not of choice but of shared agony. And with it, the faintest echo of pride begins to stir, the whisper that perhaps they are worthy of the blood that burns in their veins. The agony of transformation does not end with the arena. For the aspirants it becomes a constant companion, a shadow that gnaws at every step. Their bodies swell with unnatural strength, their veins alive with fire, yet this gift is jagged, unfinished, and hungry. To temper it, the masters drive them deeper into trials designed to break them in body and spirit alike. The first of these trials is the gauntlet of fire and frost. The aspirants are led into tunnels carved through the heart of the mountain, where rivers of molten stone flow like veins beneath the rock. The air is suffocating, heat blasting against their skin until it peels and blisters. They are ordered to run, to carry great slabs of stone upon their backs. Their feet roar against the blackened floor. Their lungs burn, their eyes weep tears that turn to steam. Many collapse, their bodies consumed by the heat before they can take 10 steps. But those who endure are not allowed to rest, for at the tunnel's end they are cast out into the open air of Fenris's night, where winds scream and snow cuts like blades. Skin that blistered in the flames freezes in moments, pain layered upon pain until every nerve feels aflame with frostbite. It is in this crucible that the wolf within surges most strongly. Some aspirants drop to their knees snarling at the storm, their fingers curling like claws, their teeth bared in animal defiance. The masters watch carefully, their eyes cold as the aurora above, judging who bends and who breaks. It is not enough to endure suffering. They must master it, tame the beast that seeks to rise within them, or be cast aside as failures. Those who survive are herded back into the fang, their skin cracked and bleeding, their bones trembling with exhaustion. Yet even here there is no respite. They are forced to kneel before great stone altars, upon which lie weapons older than memory, axes heavy with frost rune etchings, swords dulled by centuries of blood. The aspirants are told to lift them, to hold them high. Most cannot. Their bodies shake, arms quiver, backs bend, some collapse beneath the weight, their skulls dashed upon the stone as they fail, but those who lift, who hold until their arms burn and their vision darkens, are acknowledged with a nod from the masters. Through these ordeals, the aspirants come to understand the cruel truth of their path. There is no triumph without suffering, no saga without scars. They learn that the wolf's strength is not in speed or ferocity alone, but in endurance, in the relentless drive to outlast storm and fang alike. Slowly, painfully, they begin to shed the final remnants of their former lives, their memories of tribe and kin fading into shadows behind them. Yet even as they harden, the curse of their blood reveals itself. Some aspirants fall into madness. In the dead of night, their screams echo through the fang, guttural howls that curdle the blood of their brothers. They thrash against stone, their bodies twisting, their eyes glowing with an animal light. The masters descend without hesitation, steel flashing in the dimness, and the cries end swiftly. By morning, there is no sign of those who failed, only silence in their place at the barracks. The survivors understand without being told, the wolf is always waiting. One moment of weakness, and it will consume them whole. Despite the terror, bonds deepen. The aspirants share stolen moments of laughter, fleeting as sparks but fierce in their brightness. Around small fires they whisper sagas of Russ, trying to imagine themselves as part of that immortal chain. They speak of the day they will take their first hunt as wolves, of the foes they will face among the stars. They cling to these visions like lifelines, for without them the darkness of the fang would drown them utterly. And so, night after night, day after day, they rise to new torments, their bodies breaking and remaking themselves beneath the weight of trial. Some look older already, their faces lined by pain, their eyes hard as flint. Others carry themselves with a strange serenity, as though they have already accepted death and found peace in it. But all of them, each and every aspirant, hears the same voice whispering from within, low and hungry, the wolf calling to be freed. In this tension between man and beast lies the true essence of the trial of blood and fire. It is not enough to survive, not enough to endure. The wolf must be mastered, leashed but never broken, for only then can the aspirant take the next step. Only then can he claim the name of Sky Warrior, the son of Russ, the hunter who will one day make the galaxy tremble at his howl. The fang is not merely stone and steel, it is alive, a beast of its own, and it tests those within its walls as fiercely as any master. Its halls echo with the weight of ages, with sagas whispered by spirits that linger in the shadows. For the aspirants, this fortress becomes a labyrinth of trials. Even in the rare hours when they are not hurled into fire or storm, the fang itself gnaws at their resolve. There are nights when the walls seem to shift, corridors narrowing, stairways leading nowhere. The aspirants are set loose within, ordered to find their way back to the training chambers. Many wander for hours, stumbling through endless passages of ice-rimed stone, their strength bleeding away with every step. Some never return. Others emerge broken, their eyes wide, muttering of voices in the dark, whispers that tempted them, mocked them, urged them to give in to hunger or despair. The masters never speak of these vanishings, but the lesson is clear: even the fang itself will devour the unworthy. The food is another trial, cruel in its simplicity. Their meals are sparse, little more than strips of half-cooked meat torn from beasts of Fenris. At times nothing at all is given for days, forcing the aspirants to hunt the vermin that crawl in the tunnels. Hunger sharpens their senses, gnaws at their sanity. More than once brothers are caught eyeing each other with the feral gleam of predators. It is here that the curse of the wolf threatens most. Their teeth ache, their jaws twitch, saliva thicken their throats as though their very flesh yearns to feed. To resist this is agony, to give in is death. The masters watch it all, they rarely interfere, their presence distant and terrible. When they do appear, it is only to mete out punishment, or to set a new torment before the aspirants. A single word, a single nod, can mean the difference between survival and destruction. Yet even in their silence, the aspirants feel the weight of their gaze, as though every heartbeat is measured against the standards of the sons of Russ. The greatest of these overseers is the Iron Priest, a grim figure encased in rune-carved armor. He walks among the aspirants with heavy steps, a smith's hammer at his side, and a pair of steel-fanged wolves at his heels. His trials are not of endurance alone, but of will and loyalty. He sets the aspirants against one another, forcing them to wrestle in pits of mud, to fight until blood stains their hands and teeth. A wolf without a pack is nothing, he intones his voice like grinding stone. But a pack without loyalty is already dead. And so the aspirants learn to fight not for themselves, but for the one beside them. They drag each other through the snow when limbs fail, they share their last scraps of meat, they cover their brothers' backs when the masters set beasts upon them. Bonds form like iron chains, hammered in the furnace of suffering. Some pairs grow closer than blood, others clash with the fury of storms, but in all there grows a recognition that none can endure this path alone. Even the trials of silence are cruel. At times the aspirants are locked alone in chambers of darkness, left for days without light or sound. In that void, the wolf within howls the loudest. They see visions, faces of kin long dead, memories of hunts in the snow, or shadows of futures drenched in blood. Some whisper sagas to themselves, clinging to rhythm as to life. Others roar in defiance, filling the dark with their voices until their throats bleed. A few return with a strange calm in their eyes, having stared into the abyss and found a measure of peace. But many emerge broken, trembling at unseen shapes, their grip on humanity slipping like sand through fingers. Yet the Fang is merciless in its teaching. There is no retreat, no return to the lives they once knew. Already, their bodies are no longer truly human, their souls bound to the path of the wolf. The masters remind them of this often. You are no longer of Fenris, they say. Your kin would not know you nor you them. Your blood has been taken, your fate remade. Only forward, only upward, only toward the stars. It is in these words that the truth begins to settle in their hearts. They are no longer merely tribesmen seeking glory. They are becoming something far greater and far more terrible. Each scar, each scream, each night endured in the cold of the Fang is a step toward transformation, not just of flesh, but of destiny. And though many will fall, forgotten in the silence of stone, those who rise from the trial of blood and fire will do so with the fury of storms in their veins, their souls forever bound to the saga of the wolves. The fire burns brightest when the night is deepest. So it is with the sons of Fenris, whose greatest ordeal begins not upon the ice, nor beneath the fangs of beasts, but within their own blood. For all the trials of the Fang, the storms, the starvation, the endless wars of endurance, nothing compares to the terror that lurks within the marrow of their bones. It begins quietly, imperceptibly, like a spark hidden deep beneath ash. But soon it grows, and when it does, no steel or saga can shield them. The Canis Helix is not simply a gift, it is a curse, ancient and merciless, carried in every cell of their flesh. To survive it is to be reborn, stronger than any mortal warrior. To fail it is to be unmade, the wolf within devouring man, until nothing remains but a beast unchained. For the aspirants, there is no greater fear. They whisper of it at night, when exhaustion weakens their tongues, speaking of those who have gone silent, dragged from the chambers of the apothecaries, never to be seen again. Some say their bodies are burned in secret pyres, others claim the wolves of Fenris are fed with them, as though to return what was borrowed. None know the truth, and perhaps it is better so. The first signs come as tremors, a twitch in the jaw, a flash of gold in the eyes, the sudden snapping of teeth when meat is torn. At first it is mistaken for hunger or exhaustion, the natural savagery of men forced too far. But soon it grows, their hearing sharpens, catching the scrape of claws in distant tunnels. Their sense of smell becomes unbearable, every drop of sweat, every iron trace of blood filling their nostrils until they gag. Dreams grow strange, fevered visions of moonlit hunts and rivers of blood, of prey running beneath their claws. When the aspirants wake, their bodies are slick with sweat, their hands trembling as though still grasping phantom throats. The masters do not shield them from this. They watch, silent as the aspirants wrestle with the change. The apothecaries offer no comfort, only the occasional muttered note, inscribed upon a rune-carved data slate. The Iron Priest speaks once, his voice colder than the mountain wind. You are at war with yourselves. Win and you will be reborn, lose and you will feed the ice. That is all the guidance they are given, and so the aspirants battle not only the Fang, nor their brothers, nor the beasts set against them, but the very blood that runs through their veins. Some embrace it too eagerly, reveling in the sudden rush of power when their muscles thrum with new strength. But these are often the first to fall. The wolf is cunning, it whispers promises of dominance, of unrestrained hunger, of glory carved not by honor but by slaughter. Those who follow it too closely awaken one morning with eyes no longer human, jaws twisted, nails cracked into claws. They do not last long. Their screams echo through the stone as the masters put them down, quick and merciless before their curse can spread. Others resist, clinging desperately to the remnants of their humanity. They repeat their sagas, whisper prayers to Russ, recite the names of their ancestors as though each word is a chain holding them back from the abyss. Some succeed, some do not. Resistance brings its own torment, for the wolf hates to be denied. It thrashes within the mind, gnawing at thought, filling the nights with whispers that no ear but the hosts can hear. Why fight? It growls. Why kneel when you could rule? Why starve when flesh waits to be taken? Many break under this relentless voice, their sanity shattering before their body does. But among the aspirants there are always a few, rare, stubborn, unyielding, who do not falter. They learn not to deny the wolf, nor to surrender to it, but to ride its fury as a beast-master rides a steed. They accept its strength, its senses, its hunger, and bend it to their will. These are the ones the masters watch most closely, for in them lies the seed of the true space wolf. Not a beast, not merely a man, but something far more dangerous, a predator with reason, a hunter with honor. Still, even for these rare few, the path is never without scars. Every howl of wind through the fang stirs echoes in their blood. Every drop of spilt blood tempts them. The war is never won, it is only endured, battle after battle, night after night. And it is this endless struggle that forges the legend of the wolves, not that they conquered their curse, but that they bound it in chains of will and carried it into war. There comes a night when the fang itself seems to breathe with anticipation. The air grows heavy, thick with the scent of burning oil and wet stone. The aspirants are gathered in the lower chambers, their bodies trembling not from cold but from something far deeper. The canis helix stirs restlessly in their veins, a storm swelling beneath the skin. They know instinctively that this night will not pass like the others. Something waits for them in the dark, something that will demand not only their strength but the very balance of their souls. The masters say little. A single order is given, carried on the rasping vox grill of a wolf priest: hunt. The word is stark, final, a command that brooks no refusal. Doors grind open, and the aspirants are driven into the frozen night beyond the walls of the fang. Snow lashes at their faces, ice cracks beneath their boots, and the storm howls like a chorus of beasts hungry for blood. Somewhere within that storm prey has been loosed. Perhaps a Fenrisian wolf, perhaps a greater beast torn from the mountains, perhaps even one of their own who has already fallen too far into the curse. The aspirants are not told, they must discover it themselves. It begins as chaos. The young warriors scatter through the snowdrifts, their breath steaming in the air, their eyes straining through the white haze. Each heartbeat is louder now, each scent sharper. The helix awakens fully in the hunt, and with it comes a clarity they have never known. They can taste iron in the air, hear the creak of ice splitting miles away, feel the presence of warm blood moving in the storm. Their senses burn too much for fragile mortal minds to endure. Some fall to their knees, clutching their heads as voices shriek through their skulls. Others embrace the flood, their bodies moving faster, stronger, more certain than ever before. Then comes the first howl. It splits the night like a blade, primal and terrible, not wholly human yet not yet fully beast. The aspirants freeze, their eyes widening. For some it comes from their own throats, torn free without consent. For others, it is the sound of their brothers, lost already to the curse. The hunt is no longer only against the beast in the snow, but against the beast within each of them. The prey reveals itself at last, a hulking Fenrisian wolf, its pelt black as midnight, its eyes burning like embers. The masters have chosen well, for such a creature is no mere animal. It is cunning, strong enough to tear a man in half, swift enough to vanish into the storm before a blade can strike. The aspirants surge after it, driven by instinct and bloodlust. They tear through drifts, leap across chasms of ice, their howls mingling with the storm. For a moment it seems they are no longer men at all, but a pack of predators chasing prey across the frozen wastes. It is here that the trial reveals its true cruelty. To slay the beast is not enough. Any fool with a sharp blade and strong arm could do so. The true test is to master the frenzy, to take the life of the wolf without surrendering wholly to the hunger that rises with every heartbeat. Some fail. They pounce too eagerly, sinking their teeth into the beast's throat, ripping and tearing until their own faces are slick with blood. They rise snarling, eyes golden, jaws trembling, and the masters step from the storm to end them with axe or blade. Their deaths are swift, but their howls linger long after. Others fight with greater discipline. They hold their ground, Wait for the right moment, strike with blade instead of fang, with reason instead of frenzy. They bleed, they stumble, they cry out in pain as claws rake their flesh, but they endure. When the wolf finally falls beneath their blows, they do not revel in the kill. They kneel in the snow, bloodied and panting, and in that surrender the masters see the spark of what they seek. Not beasts, not men, wolves who can command their own fury. When the survivors return to the fang, dragging the carcass of the slain beast behind them, their eyes are changed. Some gleam faintly gold, a reminder of the predator within, but the gaze is steady control. They have seen the edge of the abyss and chosen not to fall. And yet, in the silence of their own hearts, they know the war is not ended. The wolf within them will never sleep. It will only wait, grow restless, hunger for the next battle. Every victory is temporary, every chain fragile. The curse cannot be cured, it can only be carried. In this truth lies the beginning of what they are becoming. They are no longer aspirants, no longer merely sons of Fenris. They are warriors of the Rot in the making, bound forever to the beast that shares their flesh. And though the trials ahead will demand even more blood, even more sacrifice, each of them has now glimpsed what it means to be a space wolf, to live as man and predator in one skin, to hunt not only with blade and fang, but with will unbroken. The fang does not allow triumph without shadow. For every aspirant who returns from the hunt bearing scars and the carcass of a beast, there are others who do not return at all. Their absence hangs heavy in the halls, an unspoken weight that presses against every stone and echo. The survivors learn quickly that silence is the only dirge afforded to the fallen. No songs, no honors, no pyres. The masters do not speak their names. The aspirants themselves dare not ask. It is as if the dead are swallowed by the mountain, erased as though they never walked its halls. But the truth is not so easily hidden. The fang has chambers no aspirant is meant to see, places where the light of the moons never falls. There the bodies of the cursed are dealt with. Some say they are cast into fire, their ashes scattered in the wind so that nothing of their shame lingers. Others claim they are fed to the great wolves that prowl the fang, their flesh consumed in silence as an offering to the pack. A few whisper that the beasts they fought in the snow, the ones that tested them in the hunt, were once brothers themselves, twisted entirely by the canis helix, their humanity stripped away until only the predator remained. Whether any of this is true, none know, but the fear it breeds is real. The survivors carry that fear back into the chambers where they rest. They lie awake through the dark hours, listening to the sound of breath and heartbeat, half wondering which among them will vanish next. Even in sleep, the curse prowls. Dreams return, darker than before, filled with the scent of blood and the sound of bones snapping. Some wake with claws etched into the stone walls around them, their nails broken and bleeding, their jaws sore as if they had bitten through iron. These nights are the most dangerous, for it is in the solitude of dreams that the wolf whispers most clearly. And yet there is another side to this ordeal, one the masters cultivate with deliberate cruelty. For those who survive, the experience becomes a forge. Bonds that were once tentative grow unbreakable. Each aspirant knows that he could be the next to fall, and so each moment of survival is shared like a victory. They eat together in silence, sharing what little food is offered. They fight beside each other in the training halls, their blades ringing in rhythm. When one falters, another pulls him back to his feet. The fang teaches that loyalty is not born from kindness but from shared suffering, from staring into the abyss together and returning alive. It is at this stage that the wolf priests begin to take a more active role. Clad in black armor, inscribed with runes of death and life, they move among the aspirants with quiet authority. Their presence is both a comfort and a threat. They are healers and executioners in equal measure, the keepers of the helix, tasked with judging who may rise and who must be culled. Their words cut as deep as their blades. "Your blood is a battlefield," one intones during a rare moment of address, his skull-helmed visage glaring over the aspirants. "Do not mistake victory for peace. The wolf will howl in you until your dying breath. What matters is whether you master its song or whether it masters you." To prove mastery, new rites are imposed. The aspirants are tested in the killing grounds, pitted against each other in duels where restraint is weighed as heavily as strength. To give in to frenzy is to fail, even if the blow lands true. To fight with control, to strike without surrendering to hunger, is to succeed. It is a delicate balance, and many stumble. The floor of the killing grounds is stained with the blood of those who struck too hard, whose eyes burned too brightly gold when the final blow fell. The masters never explain why some are spared and others executed. They only watch, impassive, as the survivors drag themselves from the ring. Through these trials something shifts. The aspirants begin to see themselves not merely as victims of a curse but as wielders of a weapon unlike any other. The wolf within, once only terror, becomes a source of pride, a reminder that they are chosen, set apart from the tribes they left behind. The first sagas are whispered among them, half in jest, half in reverence. Tales of hunts survived, of beasts slain, of nights when the wolf's call was resisted. These stories are fragile, told in hushed voices, yet they take root. Each word binds them closer, weaving them into a shared legend that hints at what they may one day become. And still the Fang waits. More trials loom beyond these walls. The curse has only begun to shape them, and the galaxy beyond Fenris does not care for the sufferings of its sons. Yet within each aspirant there is now a spark, a flicker of defiance that the helix cannot extinguish. The wolf is theirs to command, not to be commanded by. That knowledge alone is enough to carry them forward into the next trial, into the next night of blood and silence. There is a silence in the Fang that is older than stone, older than ice, older even than the warriors who have bled their last upon its altars. It is the silence of memory, heavy and unbroken, a silence that does not come from emptiness but from voices that linger too deeply to be heard. The aspirants, hardened now by storm, hunger, and the curse within, begin to sense it. At first it is no more than a chill in the marrow when they walk alone through shadowed corridors, but soon it becomes something more. A presence, a weight, a reminder that this fortress is not merely a place of training but a mausoleum of legends. They are led into the Hall of Echoes for the first time, a vast chamber carved deep into the mountain's heart. Here, the walls are inscribed with sagas so ancient that the words themselves seem alive, each rune pulsing faintly with the light of captured stars. The air is thick with smoke from sacred braziers, heavy with the scent of burning oils and strange herbs gathered from the wilds of Fenris. At the center of the hall, towering statues of past wolf lords stand sentinel, their stone eyes fixed eternally upon those who would walk in their footsteps. The aspirants fall silent, for even the wolf within them bows its head here. A rune priest steps forward, his voice carrying with the weight of a storm. He tells them of Russ, not as a distant figure of imperial hagiography, but as the father whose blood still howls in their veins. His words are not dry lessons but living fire, a saga sung in thunder. He speaks of the All-Father's chosen son who strode through the age of strife, who broke empires and shattered tyrants, who laughed in the face of gods and monsters alike. Yet he does not speak of Russ as flawless. He tells of his rages, of his doubts, of his burden as the executioner of the Emperor's will. The rune priest's voice trembles with reverence and sorrow alike, for the saga of Russ is not merely triumph, it is tragedy, and it runs like iron through every soul in the chamber. As the words wash over them, the aspirants feel their blood stir in strange ways. Some see flickers at the edge of sight, a wolf silhouette standing upon a ridge, a golden-eyed figure striding through snow, a glimmer of fangs beneath a smile. Others hear whispers beneath the rune priest's voice, echoes of laughter or the clash of blades carried on the smoke. Whether these are visions sent by the Primarch's spirit, or merely the fevered imaginings of blood too burdened by the helix, no one can say. The rune priests do not answer when asked. They only smile with grim knowledge, as though they too have seen and heard things they will never name aloud. The sagas grow darker as the night deepens. They tell not only of Russ's victories but of his leaving, of the day when the Wolf Lord walked into the stars and did not return. The rune priest's voice falters then, for this is the wound that never heals. To be a son of Russ is to live with absence, to bear the weight of a father whose shadow is eternal, but whose hand will never again fall upon their shoulders. The aspirants feel this grief like a knife in the chest, and some weep openly, unashamed. It is in that grief that the Fang binds them tighter than any trial of blood or bone, and then, as if to seal the lesson in their marrow, the rune priest raises his staff and calls upon the spirits of Fenris itself. Lightning cracks through the hall, though no storm touches the mountain outside. The runes upon the walls blaze with light, and for a moment the aspirants are blinded. When their sight returns, they swear they see movement among the statues, stone hands gripping spectral blades, carved wolves lifting their heads to howl without sound. The rune priest declares this a reminder: the past is not dead. It lives within them. The blood of Russ is more than a curse. It is a chain binding them to every saga sung before, and every saga yet to come. In that moment the aspirants understand that they are no longer being forged only as warriors. They are being made into living vessels of memory, guardians of a legacy so vast and so sorrowful that it threatens to crush them. To fail is no longer only to die. It is to be cut from the saga, to vanish into silence, forgotten while the song of Russ endures forever. And for these sons of Fenris, there is no fate more terrible. The visions do not end in the Hall of Echoes. They follow the aspirants into their sleep, curling through their minds like smoke, settling in their bones like frost. The rune priests tell them little, for they believe true understanding must be carved through struggle, not gifted by words. So the aspirants endure these dreams in silence, though none mistake them for mere phantoms. The wolf within whispers louder now, but beneath its hunger something else stirs, a deeper voice, old as the seas of Fenris, carrying the weight of sagas that stretch back into myth. In these dreams the world itself seems alive. The seas churn with eyes gleaming beneath the waves, and the mountains rise like beasts crouched against the sky. Some aspirants walk through forests where the trees themselves bow and sway, their branches forming runes of warning and promise. Others find themselves standing before a great shadowed hall, where golden light flickers at the threshold, but never allows them to cross. Always a wolf prowls at the edge of sight, sometimes vast as a god, sometimes lean and silent, always watching. When the aspirants awaken, the scent of fur lingers in their nostrils, and the echo of howls fades only slowly from their ears. The rune priests gather them after such nights, leading them to the sacred chambers deep beneath the fang. There they undergo the rite of spirit trial, a ceremony as old as the chapter itself. They are given no weapons, no armor, no blessing beyond a smear of ash across the brow. The priests burn herbs that sting the eyes and choke the throat, filling the cavern with smoke so thick that the walls vanish. In that haze the aspirants are left alone, each to face the wolf within, and the echoes of the past without guidance or aid. What happens in those chambers is never spoken of openly, for no two trials are the same. One aspirant emerges trembling, his body covered in claw marks that no hand can explain. Another walks out calmly, his gaze distant, speaking softly of voices that told him of his ancestors, their hands resting on his shoulders. Some collapse into madness, their eyes golden and wild, the wolf having claimed them utterly. These are taken away by the wolf priests, their sagas ended in silence. Others emerge scarred yet unbroken, carrying new strength that cannot be measured by blade or fang alone. It is during these spirit trials that the aspirants first grasp a truth whispered through the chapter's oldest sagas: the wolf within is not only a curse but a bridge. It links them not only to Russ but to the land itself, to the spirits of Fenris, and to the endless chain of their forebears. They are not men alone, they are not beasts alone, they are something that walks between, hunters whose very souls are bound to saga and soil alike. To carry this is both gift and burden, for the wolf grants them sight beyond sight, but it also hungers endlessly for blood and dominance. One aspirant, a boy scarcely more than 17 winters, speaks of his trial in hushed tones when the others gather in secret. He claims he stood on a mountain peak beneath a blood-red sky, where he saw Russ himself striding away into the storm. The Primarch did not turn to him, did not speak, but at his heels walked a wolf the size of a fortress. The boy swears the beast looked into his eyes, and for a heartbeat he understood what it meant to be both hunter and hunted, both loyal son and cursed creature. Whether the vision was truth or madness, none can say, but the boy's words linger in the minds of the others like a rune burned into flesh. The masters say nothing of these visions, neither denying nor confirming them. Their silence only deepens the mystery, until the aspirants are left to wonder if every dream is an omen, every whisper of the wolf's voice a fragment of Russ himself echoing through their blood. In this uncertainty, faith begins to take root, not the distant creed of terror, but a raw primal faith born from snow and hunger and visions carved into their marrow. The trials of the body had broken many, the trials of the helix had claimed more still, but it is here, in the trials of spirit, that the survivors begin to change in ways no weapon can measure. They begin to carry themselves differently, their steps more deliberate, their eyes shadowed with memory older than their years. They are no longer merely boys chasing glory. They are heirs to sagas that stretch across stars, bound by chains of blood, memory and wolf song that cannot be broken. And yet, this revelation does not bring peace. For with every vision comes a question: what if the wolf one day rises too high? What if the chain slips, and the predator devours the man? To live as a space wolf is to carry that question forever, to walk the knife's edge between saga and silence. The rune priests say this is the truest trial of all, the one that never ends. The rune priests do not let the visions fade untempered. Once the smoke of the spirit trial has cleared, the aspirants are led deeper still into the fang, into halls that only a handful of mortals have ever seen. These chambers are older than memory, carved into the bones of the mountain long before the Imperium ever set its banners on Fenris. Here, the very stone hums with echoes of sagas too ancient to be written, and the air is heavy with incense, frost, and the musk of wolf pelts that line the walls. At the heart of this labyrinth lies the Hall of Relics, a vault not of gleaming treasures but of scars and shadows. Every weapon, every fragment of armor, every rune-etched talisman kept here carries a story of blood and sacrifice. To step into this hall is to walk through living history. The wolf priests call it the Shrine of Legacy, and it is here that aspirants are forced to confront not only who they are but who they must become. The relics are not displayed with the grandeur of a king's hoard. They are scattered across stone altars and iron racks, their power lying not in polish but in wear. A rusted axe, its haft cracked and wrapped in old leather, once felled a demon prince in the hands of a long-dead wolf lord. A cracked helm, its visor blackened by plasma fire, belonged to a warrior who stood alone against an orc horde until reinforcements arrived. There are fangs taken from beasts long extinct, claws from sea dragons that no saga recalls, bones carved with runes so old that even the rune priests cannot decipher them fully. The aspirants are not told the stories. Instead, they are made to sit in silence among the relics, fasting and waiting until the objects themselves begin to whisper. And whisper they do, not in words but in impressions, in the weight of lives once carried, in the echo of sagas written in blood and frost. For hours, sometimes days, the aspirants endure this communion. Some weep without knowing why. Others shiver as if the cold of the relics seeps into their very marrow. A few rise in anger, overwhelmed by the fury that still lingers in a blade or the grief carved into a broken shield. One relic above all seems to draw their attention, though none dare speak of it aloud. It is a single fang, vast and yellowed, mounted upon a stone altar at the far end of the hall. Larger than a man's arm, it gleams faintly in the torchlight, as though reflecting a sun long vanished. The priests never name it, yet every aspirant feels the truth in his bones. This is no beast's tooth. This is a fragment of Russ himself, left as both blessing and burden. To look upon it is to feel the weight of the Primax's presence, distant yet crushing, noble yet savage. Some feel awe, others feel dread. All understand in that moment that they walk forever in the shadow of a god who vanished but never truly left. After this silent vigil, the aspirants are tested once more, not by blade or claw, but by oath. Before the relics, they are commanded to speak their saga aloud. Not the saga they have lived, but the one they seek to carve into the stars. Each aspirant must declare who he intends to be, what deeds he will chase, what kind of wolf he will become. It is a dangerous trial, for words spoken in the Hall of Relics are binding. The rune priests say that the stones themselves carry them into the warp, where the spirits of ancestors and the wolf within listen closely. A vow broken here is no mere failure. It is a wound upon the soul, one that festers until the wolf devours what remains of the man. Some aspirants speak boldly, declaring their fates as champions, wolf lords or slayers of demons. Others are more cautious, vowing only to serve the pack, to bear the burden of brotherhood without pride. A rare few remain silent, unable to shape their visions into words, and these are watched with unease. Silence can be humility, but it can also be the first step into shadow. When the oaths are complete, the aspirants are dismissed, but they leave the Hall of Relics changed. They have faced not only their own reflection, but the endless chain of warriors who came before, and the crushing truth that every saga is measured against Russ himself. Their dreams carry more weight now, their steps more purpose. And though they do not yet wear the armor of the Astartes, they are already bound to the Brotherhood of the Fang in spirit. Yet even as they climb from the relic halls back into the higher chambers of the Fang, unease lingers. The wolf within stirs restlessly, agitated by the vows sworn in the shadow of Russ. The ancestors whisper still, their voices demanding more than any mortal could ever give. For the aspirants there is no turning back. They have placed their feet upon a path carved by gods and beasts alike, and every step forward will demand blood, sweat and soul. For in the end, sagas are not written in silence. They are etched in flesh, in fire, and in sacrifice. And the wolf waits always to see which of them will rise to glory, and which will be devoured by their own shadows. The Fang does not permit long reflection. As soon as the aspirants rise from the Hall of Relics, their vows still burning upon their tongues, they are driven once again into the wild. It is not the same wilderness they once endured as half-starved youths, cast naked into the snow to prove their worth. This trial is different. Now they walk as half-made wolves, their blood infused with the gene seed of Russ, their bodies larger, their senses sharper. The air tastes of iron and frost, and their ears catch sounds that no mortal would ever notice. The scrape of claw on stone, the shift of snow as a predator circles unseen. The priests tell them nothing. They are taken in silence by long boats across seas that foam with volcanic heat, carried to islands wreathed in mist. The mountains here rise like jagged fangs themselves, their peaks capped with storm clouds, their forests dense with pine and shadow. The boats do not wait. As soon as the aspirants step upon the black sand, the oars dig deep, the vessels vanish, and the wolves are alone. They know only this: they must hunt, they must kill, not for food, not for survival, but for Saga. Each must return with a trophy, something that proves they have conquered not just the land but the beast within. The prey is never named, but its presence is undeniable. The island itself seems alive with menace, and every shadow promises teeth. At first, the aspirants move as individuals, each eager to carve his own legend. Some stalk alone into the woods, blades drawn, eyes sharp. Others prowl the rocky cliffs, hoping to find lairs or tracks. Yet soon the island teaches its lesson. A lone aspirant finds himself surrounded by creatures that move like wolves but stand taller than men, their fur matted with blood, their eyes glowing with the madness of Fenris itself. His screams echo through the trees until silence falls. When the others find what remains, it is little more than torn flesh scattered among pine roots. The pack forms almost instinctively after that. Old rivalries are swallowed, for the island demands unity. Together, the aspirants begin to track the unseen prey. They mark claw gouges on trees as wide as a man's chest, paw prints as large as shields, bones cracked and discarded as though by some titanic jaw. The scale of the creature is almost too great to comprehend, yet the deeper they go, the stronger its scent becomes, musky, ancient and edged with a sharp tang of ozone, as though lightning itself clings to its hide. Nights are the worst. They huddle by fires, their sharpened senses restless with every sound of the forest. The howls that echo through the valleys are unlike any they have heard before, deeper than thunder, shaking the marrow of their bones. The aspirants whisper sagas of the great wolf, of Russ himself striding across Fenris in ages past. Some believe they hunt a descendant of his beasts, a creature touched by the Primarch's hand. Others mutter darker fears, that it is no beast at all, but a fragment of the curse that lingers in every son of Russ, made flesh to test them. On the third night, the beast strikes. It does not stalk or circle. It crashes into their camp with the force of a storm, scattering fire and bodies alike. It is vast, larger than a Fenrisian wolf, its fur streaked with white scars, its fangs like swords. Its eyes burn gold, and in them the aspirants see not mere hunger, but recognition, as though the creature knows why they have come. Bolter shells crack, axes bite, but the beast moves like a shadow, tearing one aspirant in half with a snap of its jaws, hurling another into the trees with a sweep of its claws. Panic threatens, but then the wolf within surges. The Fang looms above the sea like a fortress carved from the bones of gods, yet even its stone halls cannot banish the shadows that creep into the hearts of those who dwell within. For every song of victory sung in its firelit halls, there are whispers that go unspoken, murmurs carried on the cold wind that sweeps down from the mountain peaks. The aspirants who return from the wild with their trophies feel it first, the weight of silence heavier than any armor, the knowledge that glory is only half of their inheritance. The other half is a shadow, one they cannot yet name. In the great hall, sagas are sung of Russ and the First Company, of hunts across 100 worlds, of daemons slain and heretics burned. The mead flows, the laughter rises, and the brothers lock arms in triumph. Yet even here, in the heart of celebration, the absence is a wound that never heals. The seat at the head of the table remains empty, carved with runes too sacred to touch, left for the Wolf King who vanished into the void millennia ago. His name is shouted in every toast, but the echoes fade too quickly, leaving behind only silence. The priests speak of Russ's return as certainty. They call him the All-Father's Wolf, the eternal hunter who one day will stride from the shadows of the stars to lead his sons in the final battle. But the aspirants still roar from the trials, hear something else in the spaces between those words. They hear doubt, they hear longing, they hear the quiet truth that none among the Fang have ever dared speak aloud, that perhaps the Wolf King is never coming back. It is in this silence that the first true lessons of the curse reveal themselves. Some aspirants find their dreams haunted by the beast they slew, the golden eyes watching them still, filled with accusation. Others wake in the night with their hands clawing the stone floor, jaws aching as though they had bitten through bone. The wolf within does not rest. It prowls behind their eyes, scratching at the walls of their minds, demanding freedom. The priests tell them it is normal, that every son of Rus feels the pull, that discipline and brotherhood will hold the beast at bay. But discipline is a thin shield, and brotherhood is fragile when sleep brings only hunger. The curse has a name among the Fang, the Wolfen. It is spoken rarely, and always with the same mix of reverence and dread. The aspirants learn quickly that to lose control is not simply to fail, it is to become something else, something neither man nor astartes, a half-remembered nightmare of fur, claw and howling rage. The Wolfen are not gone. Some whisper they stalk the wilds of Fenris still, others that they prowl within the warp, waiting for the day they will return. To the aspirants these whispers are less than myth, yet more than rumor. They are warnings carried in every glance of the wolf priests, every subtle tightening of a rune priest's jaw when the word is spoken. And so, even as the mead flows and laughter fills the halls, the aspirants live with the weight of a secret they cannot shake. Their victories are real, their brotherhood strong, but beneath it all lies a fear too deep for words. They know the wolf within does not always obey. They know that one day, perhaps on some distant battlefield beneath alien stars, their own hands may betray them. They may tear into their pack brothers not with bolter or blade, but with claw and fang, and the sagas that sing their names will end, not in triumph but in mourning. Still they train, still they laugh, still they carve their sagas into the stone of the Fang, for what else can they do? They are the sons of Rus, and to falter is to dishonor his name. The rune priests do not often speak plainly. Their tongues weave sagas and symbols, cloaking truth in the rhythm of storms and the crackle of fire. Yet for the aspirants who have endured so much, there comes a night when silence can no longer guard them. In the cavernous chamber beneath the Fang, where the aurora light flickers across stone walls like restless spirits, the young warriors are gathered, their furs still damp from the snow. The air is heavy with incense, and the iron scent of blood, and the rune priests stand before them, their staves crowned with wolf skulls that glow faintly with runes of power. Here, the priests speak of the curse not as rumor, but as inheritance. They tell the aspirants that every son of Rus carries within him a splinter of the wolf that the Primarch bound to his line. It is both gift and doom, the ferocity that allows them to tear apart daemons, the instinct that drives them to fight as one pack, the resilience that lets them survive wounds that would fell any other astartes. All of it flows from the wolf's blood, but the same blood that grants strength also hungers. It whispers in dreams, it waits in shadows, and if the warrior falters, if his control weakens, then the wolf devours the man, leaving behind nothing but the wolfen. The aspirants listen in silence, their eyes wide in the dim light. For some the words spark pride. To carry such savage power is to walk forever on the edge of legend. But for others, dread coils in the gut, for the rune priests make it clear, once the wolf claims a man there is no return. The wolfen are not exiled, not condemned, they are lost, their names struck from sagas, their memories left to fade. To fall is to vanish, as though the warrior never existed at all. And yet, the priests admit in hushed tones the wolfen are not gone from the galaxy. Some are said to prowl Fenris still, howling in the forests, their eyes glowing with fury, their bodies twisted but strong. Others are whispered to have been seen upon battlefields far from their homeworld, appearing from nowhere, tearing through enemies and allies alike before vanishing into the warp's shadows. The Imperium at large may scorn such tales as heresy or madness, but the sons of Rus know better. There is no escaping his absence. For all the grandeur of the Fang, for all the fires and sagas that fill its halls, the shadow of Rus himself is everywhere. His presence is in the runes carved into the great stone pillars, in the ancient pelts draped across the high seats, in the very air that smells of pine, frost and blood. Yet it is an absence as sharp as a wound, as if the Fang is a body with its heart torn out. The aspirants sense it long before they can put words to it, the truth that their Primarch, the Wolf King, is gone, gone but not dead. That is the tale told with every toast, every hymn, every howl that echoes through the Fang's halls. Russ has not fallen as Horus fell, nor vanished into dust as others might. He has gone on a hunt, they say, a hunt that will not end until the galaxy itself shatters in the fires of the last battle. The sagas claim he promised to return at the wolf time, when all is darkness, when the enemies of the Allfather gather for their final strike. Then and only then will he stride once more across Fenris, his spear dripping with the blood of gods, his howl shaking the stars. But promises are fragile things, even when sung in mead halls and carved into stone. The aspirants look upon the empty seat at the head of the great table, its runes glowing faintly in the firelight, and they wonder how many generations have raised their toasts to an empty throne. How many centuries have passed with the Fang's highest hall waiting for a master who does not come. The rune priests call it faith, the wolf priests call it loyalty. But in the long hours of the night, when the aurora flickers over the peaks and the wind cuts like blades through the stone corridors, it feels less like faith and more like longing. The older warriors speak carefully when asked. Some laugh and tell the aspirants not to dwell on it, for Russ walks his path and the sons of Russ walk theirs. Others grow silent, their eyes distant as though they have heard whispers they dare not share. A few mutter prayers in Fenrisian tongue, low and quick, as though speaking the truth aloud might call doom upon them. But the silence itself speaks volumes, and the aspirants understand that doubt is as much a companion as faith. It is said that the Fang itself waits for him, in its deepest vaults where even the priests tread rarely, are chambers sealed with runes too ancient to decipher. Some whisper that Russ left fragments of his presence there, echoes of his will, or perhaps even his own blood, locked away until the day of his return. The sagas of the Space Wolves are filled with triumph, but their truest strength lies not in glory, but in defiance. For every world they save, for every heretic they burn, for every Xenos they drive screaming into the void, there remains an enemy closer than any battlefield. It is the hunger in their own blood, the shadow of their absent king, the knowledge that their fate may one day twist into the claws of the Wolfen. And yet, in the face of this, they howl, they fight, they laugh as though death itself is just another companion at the table. That, more than any weapon, is the savage life of the sons of Russ. When the aspirants rise fully into warriors, clad at last in ceramite and armed with the bolter, they are no longer the half-made youths who once stumbled through snow and clawed their way through storms. They are space wolves, champions of the Allfather, brothers of the Fang, hunters of the endless dark. Their sagas will be carved into worlds far from Fenris, their howls echoing across the void. But beneath the steel and fire, the truth remains.